I'm going to start with saying welcome, even though there's still a few people registering at the back table. I'm going to start by saying welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm not sure how many people have been with us for a while and how many people might be new to the work. So that's going to be one of the first questions I probably ask when we get going, because it helps me to have an orientation to where I need to start in presentation of material. Because for those of you who have been with us for a while, you know there's usually a huge amount of material covered in these very short workshops. And if you're coming in without a lot of knowledge about the work, it can be rather startling, to say the least. So I like to try to give people an opportunity to catch up so they can understand, because there's vocabulary involved with our work that if you haven't followed the work, you're not going to know what it means, so it'll sound like we're talking, a foreign language to you. Tonight is, it's really interesting because we figured we're actually on our way now to moving to England, and this was going to be kind of our last workshop in the United States, saying goodbye, to the people who have been with us for a while. And we were expecting about 40 people, and then we got over 100. It's like, hello. So this workshop, it's very interesting. We just finished a workshop in Phoenix, Arizona, that was quite powerful and profound. It was a presentation of what's called the Dance for Life and the Dance for Love program, with a supplemental section on shadow body healing and related issues. It is the most consolidated presentation of the information in those programs that has been done so far, and it is kind of like, if you're going to look at them all as potential takes for a movie, that's the final take. So at this point, we won't be giving those programs live anymore, because now they are available on video and audio in a way that anybody anywhere can learn them if they want to, in the best form possible. Right now, our planet is in a very unique position, and we're headed for some very interesting circumstances on our planet. Because of that planetary drama that we're all connected to, because we're all on the planet, there isn't a lot of time for moving through kindergarten through 10th grade, let's say, over and over and over again. So we catch it on film, so anybody that wants to learn about the work and catch up can, but we need to keep bringing the next level of information in, because there is progressive dispensations of information that are being given to us by a group called the Iani, of what's called the Guardian Alliance. Now, I'm not going to go into explaining who these people are to people who are new. The information is published in a whole bunch of different forms, from the Voyager series books to the Cathara Healing Program has a little of it. It's in writing if you want to know who the Iani are, if you want to know who the Guardian Alliance is, if you want to know who the 3 Emerald Covenant speakers are, if you want to know what CDD plates are. All of these things that are words that will be foreign to new people, you can find reference to them in published materials. It would take me literally another 2 days in the workshop just to get you caught up that far, and none of us have that amount of time. I will go as far as saying, as if you don't know me, I am Ashyana Dean, and this is Michael Dean. We are Spike, we call him Azutanya as well. We use our spiritual names because there's a vibrational resonance in frequency with calling yourself by who you know yourself to be. And for anyone who doesn't know us, we choose to use our spiritual names that correspond to what is called the personal Christos level of identity. So people know us as Ash and Az, Ashyana and Azutanya, or vice versa. So this weekend is going to be interesting because, again, it's not going to be a repeat of any information that has been given before. We thought we'd get away easy, perhaps, and just be able to bring the Dance for Love and the Dance for Life program over to the East Coast, right? No such luck. What we're doing is bringing the supplemental information that was given for the recent July Bermuda trip and the Phoenix workshop, the supplemental part of the Phoenix workshop. We are starting there. So people that went to the Phoenix workshop, they will actually get the next level from the information released here. And it's a really interesting place to start. If you've not been a part of our work at all, you might want to ask your soul, who important were you in some other life that you ended up showing up at this point, right smack in the middle of the college level program? Because you were guided to be here if you're here. That may not mean that you might like what we say. It may not mean that the information will resonate with you. But for some reason, you're guided to be here. Nobody comes to a workshop of this information that isn't guided to be here for some reason or another. I would like to ask the question, are there anybody here that's not familiar with our work? And don't feel embarrassed. It just helps me to know how many people I need to try to move the information in a slower way so they can catch up faster. Okay? One courageous person raise their hand. I have a feeling there's more, though, that don't want to be identified. Okay, I won't do that to you then. All right, thank you for being courageous. So at least I know there's one person as the spokesperson for the group who is just coming into the work. And I will move as slowly as I possibly can, while as quickly as we need to move. There is, again, a huge amount of information to cover in this workshop. If you have been at the Phoenix workshop, or if the tapes aren't available for that yet, so you wouldn't have had it on video. If you have been on the Bermuda trip, where the beginning information that we're going to cover here was revealed, you'll have a head start. Some of the information will be things you've already heard. What we're going to get into are some exciting things that have to do with human potential, ancient human potential. We will also cover reasons why that human potential has not been expressed on this planet since 25,500 BC, and why it is extremely important within the next 10 years, particularly within the next 2 years, that we begin to reclaim that potential for ourselves. In this workshop, and this is just an orientation tonight, we'll move into it slow and easy. We'll talk about some things tonight that are related to what we'll learn. But the learning is going to take place in the crash course in a 2-day period. You're going to be given, I don't know if you've been given it already, you have, okay? I see some people have it anyway. Does everybody have this? These books? All right, no? All right. Is there any more of them? Okay, whoever doesn't have one of the books, would you guys back there help me pick one up, please? Now, these books, beware, if you take these back in your room tonight and read them, and you're not familiar with the work yet, you'll probably think we're nuts. All right. This is a supplemental chart pack, basically, which is a consolidation of information and related graphs that we haven't had time to put in full book form. It would probably be about 400 to 600 pages, just what's in that material there. If it were put in a book form, where all the words that I'm going to say out of my mouth in the next 48 hours or so would be put, on pages in writing. So the books are a supplement to the information that you get verbally during the workshop. There is a lot of information, especially if you haven't been familiar with the work. I will ask one more question. Why should I bother? Because nobody's going to raise their hand. I will simply say in response to the question, I'm not going to ask. Anybody that's new to the work and doesn't know at least the information we've taught about chakras, the chakra system, we will give you spot instruction really quick on, okay, this one's located here. If you want to know what it is, what is a chakra, all that stuff, that's in the Kathara Biospiritual Healing Program. It is extremely defined. It is not one of those light, love, and clueless airheaded manuals you'll get that have like 20 pages in them. It's a 200 and some page manual. So we will be using chakras in all of the technologies of mind and spirit that we use in these programs. And it's important to know basically where some of them are located so you can direct energy there when you're being guided to within the steps of the program, the technologies that we use. In the program, those of you who have been with us know, we use technologies of light and sound. They are scalar wave technologies. There's a massive block of science knowledge behind the technologies we use. It is not just using pretty colors of light or certain tones of sound to make pictures in our mind. We are directly affecting what is called our DNA template, which is the blueprint of light and sound waves that our chemical DNA forms upon. This is a science. This is an ancient science that belonged to all of humanity once upon a time. This knowledge was common knowledge to everyone once upon a time. It was our heritage and it was our gift from the being or source that we choose to call God, some of us here. Some choose to call it simply source. It doesn't matter what you call that original source of creation. If we recognize that there is an original source of creation that all of us have emerged out of and we're always connected directly to, it doesn't matter what you call it. What does matter, however, is how close you will allow yourself to become to that presence and that wisdom and that knowing that is often put under the word called God. We all are walking manifestations of the face of God who forgot who we are. If we can realize we have spirit, you want to call it spirit? God's too big a word. Call it spirit within you. The thing that makes you think, where your consciousness comes from. This is yours. It belongs to you. It came with you. And it is the part of you that is God. Now, it doesn't mean you're limited to your ego mind. There's lots more to it than that. And we've taught that. We've taught the tangible structure of the soul. And we mean tangible as far as physics. There is a physics reality to everything, including the structure of the soul, including the structure of manifestation itself. So for the new people, I would like you to understand that we're going to have to leapfrog over a lot of information first, because there's some very pertinent and important information that needs to be revealed through the course of this workshop. If there's a lot of blanks that need to be filled in as far as what do we teach about God, what do we teach about personal spirituality, what are we part of a religious dogma? The answer to that last question is no. In fact, we're anti-dogma, because dogma stops the person from having a direct relationship with Source. But all of that information is in different versions of published form. There's a very nice piece on who and what is God, what are angels, what are archangels, all that. That's covered in the Master's Stewardship Templar Initiative course book, which is another course book that we publish. So many of the questions that new people might have are already answered. They're already in print. And that's why I'm going to have to ask you to take some responsibility for yourself. That if I'm losing you a little bit on here or there, if you're suspicious or worried about what I might be teaching about spirituality, or what Az might be teaching about spirituality, or what Max Speaker 3 might be teaching about spirituality, you have a resource to look through, but it is your responsibility to do that. It isn't my responsibility to save you or to walk you by the hand and take you to a library and hand you a book and make you sit down for 20 minutes a day and read it. All right? This is the responsibility each of us need to take. If we want to become informed, we take responsibility for learning. And it's as simple as that. Right now, we're in a remarkable, remarkable period of time, because all of the ancient mysteries and all of the ancient secrets are coming to a head in our present generation. This is a surprise to us, perhaps, but it's no surprise to anybody else out there in the universe. We've been the only ones that forgot about what's really going on. What's really going on has to do with many, many things. It has to do with what's called the Planetary Templar, which is the planetary Stargate system, or the Ascension Passage system. It is a technical physics structure that is very spiritual as well, because there is no true separation between real science and real spirit. They are both manifestations of the God Source. Now, we have taught in many workshops at this point various blocks of information about the science of the Templar. And this doesn't mean we're Knights Templar, because Knights Templar were actually the ones who tried to take over and take control, Antichristos control, of the Planetary Templar. So we are not Knights Templar at all. We teach the original ancient founders' race teachings on the Templar sciences. Our race, the human race and the indigo race, were given the privilege of having this knowledge and being the carriers of this knowledge because we were appointed and created for a very specific purpose. We were created as the free will, love-based guardians of this 15-dimensional universal time matrix. We were the race that was to ensure the safety of the Templar. The Templar Stargate system on a universal level and on a cosmic level is literally the core framework that allows for the manifest expression of three-dimensional space-time holographic illusions that we call three-dimensional life, where we actually experience ourselves not just as floating consciousness, but actually in a body that's in a hologram, where space-time, matter, all of those things seem to be real. The Templar is very sacred. The Cosmic Templar is. The Cosmic Templar holds within itself what is called the Universal Templar, that's a little smaller, and that holds Galactic Templars, many of them, which are smaller. They hold Planetary Templars, and within Planetary Templars, there are the internal Templar systems, or internal Stargate systems, of every living being on those planetary systems. We teach of the external Templar, which is the planetary, galactic, universal, and cosmic level, but we also teach of the internal Templar, which is the part of the Stargate system that you're actually made of. This is where we start to understand our direct and always present connection to the planet, to the galaxy, to the universe, to the cosmos, and directly to God. There's a lot of directions these teachings could go, and if we were not in a period of time that the actions we take now have very important consequences, if we were in a period of time where we had a little more time to kick back and, read some books here, check out spirituality there, do it slow and easy, we would not be taking this course of teaching. The teachings now wouldn't have been released till after 2012. But at this point, in order for us to get safely to 2012, the teachings of the Templar, the secrets of the Templar, the history that goes with it, and the secrets of your inner Templar need to be revealed so we can understand the drama that's about to unfold on this planet that we're beginning to watch on TV, that we're beginning to see manifesting through the political arenas. That's just the outside. It's confusing when you look at the political realities that are taking place right now. It's confusing to wonder, what are the politicians doing? Who is behind the scenes there? It seems like somebody's trying to create war. There's a whole reason for this that we'll talk more about probably on Sunday. We've talked about it in some of the other workshops. But behind the dramas we're watching manifest that are going to get more intense and more severe, there is a whole reality of frequency and interdimensional physics and spiritual reality that is taking place. And when we begin to understand what is really taking place, we start to see it is all about the Templar. There is a Templar conquest going on right now on our planet. But it isn't just on our planet. It's in our galactic system and in our 15-dimensional universe. Fortunately, we're not the only 15-dimensional universe in existence, so it's just localized if you want to look at it that way. Now, when we go tomorrow, we'll begin with some of the fun part of re-exploring ancient human heritage of something that's called the eternal flame body. The eternal flame body is a part of your internal Templar that when it comes to life, when it is brought back to life and woken up because it's been sleeping for a very long time, it gives you back the original human capacity to move at will through stargates. It also gives you back the ability to protect yourself from environmental frequency influences that could otherwise have dire effects on your body, but also not just your body, but your consciousness even after it leaves the body. We're going to have a crash course in black hole systems. And this is where we're going to understand a little bit about where the Montauk Project of 1983, where the Philadelphia Experiment of 1943, where these things fit in. Where they fit directly in with the 9/11 event and the Trade Centers going down. And what all this has to do with ancient Atlantis. And why we need to wake up fast. And in waking up fast, we can reclaim the ability to generate the flame bodies within our biofields that will give us protection, not just on a personal level, but it will allow us to become part of a larger field of protection that is being generated for this planet and for this universal system. It's going to be interesting to move the group of people that's here, excuse me, just getting over a cold, into a space where we make complete sense to you during this workshop. Because there's a whole bunch of different levels of familiarity with what we've been teaching. Now, for anybody that knows our teachings, they do know one thing we're known for: detail. Yeah, some people say the devil's in the details. We say God is in the details. Because if you don't know the details, you can't tell whether somebody's saying something that's actually true or not. The details show you how things fit, and they show you why they're important. So we do spend time in most of the teachings on details. Right now, we're going to give you a crash course in the most important details of how pieces of things fit together, so you can begin to understand a drama that we're preparing to serve as a healing force within. And as we serve as a healing force for the planet, we also will give ourselves healing protection. Because what is moving into our manifest hologram on this planet, we are going to need to be able to hold a field of protection for. I'm not just talking about our politicians getting us in trouble that's going to lead probably to a World War III drama. I'm talking about something even bigger. Some of you might have heard of the planet Nibiru. Some of you might have heard, particularly in the Bible, of a thing called wormwood. Now, these two things are intimately connected to something else that was recorded in the Bible as the beast. We have been teaching for the last few months the mechanics of what the beast really is, what it stands for. And it is an antichristos technology. It is an evil technology that is used by beings that are emerging into our system, and they have been for literally millions of years, from a black hole system, which is a fallen system that it can't support eternal life frequencies anymore. It is a dying system that is trying to feed on our system. The beast is an amazing feat of genius, twisted in on itself. Now, we'll talk some about the beast when we begin to understand anatomy, our own personal anatomy, because there's a piece of each of our anatomy on this planet. And this is true for the fact that we exist on the planet, because we're picking it up from the planet's anatomy just by coming in here and incarnating here. A piece of each of us called the shadow. The shadow body is connected to the beast. And when we get through exploring what this beastly technology is, they keep giving me pieces of detail of how all these little pieces fit together, and it's just amazing. What this machine, it is an interdimensional, crystalline technology-based Templar control machine that has many, many different pieces and parts to it. That's very much connected with what they were doing in the Montauk Project and in the Philadelphia experiment and all of those things. But it also has everything to do with what they were doing in Atlantis, that ancient place that we don't think is real anymore. It was real, all right. And so was the house cleaning that came afterward to make sure we had no records of it. So by the time this time period came, we wouldn't know, we wouldn't remember, because then we wouldn't be able to prevent some of the things that certain fallen races have in mind. Many of those fallen races were human faces. That's one of the first things that's very difficult to realize, because most human beings, and in what we call indigo children, are very loving inside of themselves. They feel genuine love and compassion for each other and for the planet and for animals and all those kind of things. But there are other human beings that wear human faces, that do not have human souls, and they do not have the capacity to experience what we would call the emotions of love or compassion or connection. They have brilliance of mind, but coldness of heart. We call them those with the black heart. Now, the black heart is also kind of a metaphor for certain parts of the beast technology that have to do with implants. These aren't just little implants that might be floating around in your auric field. They're not just implants that might be stuck in your DNA, messing up the way the chemicals communicate with each other. These are implants on an interdimensional, universal galactic level, which means they're implants that are placed in the cores of stars. They are placed in the cores of suns to create certain unnatural effects of electromagnetic energy interaction that were created for a purpose that is culminating in our time frame. Our time frame is precious. It's special. Because for 250 billion years, calculated in Earth time, guardian races throughout this universe have waited for this time period to come. There was a healing experiment that we'll talk a little bit about when we touch the history that began 250 billion years ago when a black hole system was inadvertently created in this time matrix. From that period of time, there have been progressive wars, conflict dramas, polarity conflict issues, suffering, pain in this time matrix. And there have been races of beings that serve the guardian role of protecting the universal Templar enough, whereas many of the beings who had fallen could be helped out of the black hole system. And either the black hole would be healed, or when it reached critical mass, where it was going to swallow the system it fell from, it would be closed. Now, we are in the process, and we are in the final time when that closing is taking place. It actually reached critical mass in 22,326 BC, during what was called a stellar activation cycle, which is a natural planetary stargate opening cycle. This planet has stargates that open every 26,556 years. The reason why we here, in this particular time period, are in the middle of this drama is because this is the first stellar activation cycle that has come, that could come, since the last one of 22,326 BC. During that period, there was a major invasion attempt. This was a period when Atlantis was alive and well on the planet. So was Lemuria and a bunch of other places. There were the Yu Empire, there were the Ur Empire, there were all sorts of different empires on this planet. The history we have been fed here has been contrived. It has been a lie, purposely created to get us to bow down to false creator gods that appointed themselves as our taskmasters. These beings are the beings who are coming from the fallen black hole systems. Now, I don't talk about black holes in a way of just like offhandedly, oh yeah, black holes exist, go look it up in a science book. No, science here on this planet hasn't really figured out what black holes are in the first place. They're still trying to figure it out. They don't know what dark matter is. They don't know what these things are. They see effects, but they don't know the cause. Just like when they look at our DNA. Gene mapping, we've got the whole human genome mapped, right? Compared to what? They're seeing what's there, but they couldn't tell if it was mutated unless they had what actually a full human genome looked like, right? Guesswork is what science is built on down here right now. because the original records, the original knowledge, was purposely taken from this place. This was not God's will. This was not something done to punish humans because they were bad, lowly, sinful creatures. This was a progressive invasion attempt by races that are technologically more advanced than we are right now from a black hole system. But human beings knew when they incarnated on this planet that they would become part of this drama. They incarnated into the drama to be the healing force. Humans and indigos were here to fix it, and we still are. The scary part is we're still asleep. Our work is about the wake-up call, and it's not the little wake-up call, and it certainly isn't the clarion call. For anybody who knows that one. That was just a tongue-in-cheek stab. For people who haven't heard of that one, it has to do with certain groups of teachings in the New Age movement that are teaching people to work with energy in ways that will get them sucked right down into a black hole system. And they're teaching them that that's ascension. So the little stab on the clarion call had to do with that. Now, when we teach about black holes, we will teach you basically what they are, how they're formed. You're not going to understand that if you don't understand basic structure, universal structure. All right, if that's a black hole, which is anomaly compared to what it's supposed to look like, what is it supposed to look like? So we give you a basic framework of understanding the core template structure of the cosmic matrix. Through that, we understand how we basically fit into the cosmic matrix. We begin to understand template science, which is called the science of the shields. The word shields is used to refer to a standing scalar wave grid. Now, a scalar wave grid is a grid of standing columnar waves that are fixed in position but flash off and on. Now, our consciousness is anchored into manifestation through a very specifically mathematically, geometrically arranged scalar wave grid. We have one, our planet has one, the galaxy has one, the universe has one, and the cosmos has one. This is what I mean when I say the cosmic matrix. It has also been called, in more vague terms, the cosmic unified field. What's a unified field? It's a scalar wave grid. That's what it is. And that is called, in the ancient language, a shield. Now, the scalar shields are the key to understanding our Templar. They're the key to understanding stargates. They're the key to understanding immortality. They're the key to understanding healing, because they are the core templates upon which matter manifests. And if there's damage to the core template, there will be a damaged or anomalous creation of matter that emerges from that template. We are on a planet that has very damaged planetary shields right now. They were damaged on purpose by those who have progressively invaded here since Atlantis. These shields were damaged so that they could be ripped apart and pulled into a black hole system and reassembled there. Called a hijack job. It's like hijacking a bus. But they're hijacking literally a 15-dimensional time matrix, but only 11.5 dimensions of it. This is a massive drama. This is what scares most people away. When people come into this work for the first time, if they haven't been walked through the easy stuff, start with tangible structure of the soul. Find out where your soul, your oversoul, your avatar level of identity is. Find out how you fit so you know you're directly connected to God so you don't have to be scared anymore. Then find out about Kathara healing, which teaches you about your personal template, okay? You get to feel safer because now you get to learn how to run this thing you call your body, right? And get more of yourself and more of your Christ consciousness embodied. That's the simple way. And a lot of people that are stuck with the work started there. And that's the way to not like come in and go, oh my God, what's she talking about? So if you feel, if you new people feel a little, kind of, oh my God, we're talking black holes. I thought this was a spiritual development workshop. Oh, it is. It is a spiritual development workshop. Because if we don't understand black holes, if we don't understand the basic structure of the cosmic matrix and how black hole anomalies have affected our evolution here, we will not understand one key part of our own anatomy that we need to heal if we are going to survive through the next 10, 15, possibly 1 year period. That's the shadow body. So tomorrow we're going to do an extensive crash course on shadow body anatomy. First, you're going to have to understand where little things like your radial body are. All right, that's part of your anatomy, your interdimensional anatomy that's with you all the time, because the shadow body is an anomaly that's within the radial body. You're going to understand the radial body, and that will help you understand what this mysterious thing called the astral body is. You know, we hear about astral projection and people running around in this ghost-like body, you know, when they sleep and things like that. We'll find out what that is. And in that, it's fun because there's potential there. This is where we begin to understand our potential. We begin to understand that not only can the astral body move through things, those things are called stargates and portals, to get into other space-time locations, but we can actually take our physical bodies there too, if the right frequencies and the right chemical balances are achieved within the physical body. Those chemical balances cannot be created by taking a substance from outside of yourself. They must be created as a natural manifestation of healing and turning on of your 12 dimensions of your internal template, your scalar grid. So, we're going to be learning Crash Course in Spirituality and how to sidestep black holes on your way, because we all have a shadow body that needs healing. And in the politics of the events that have evolved, let's say just since 1992, the internal politics that have been going on behind the external ones that you've been seeing on TV and things, in those politics, it's been like, did you ever watch a political campaign where everybody's, oh yeah, vote for me, and everybody's pulling energy all over the place to the point where you watch it and say, I don't care who wins. It's so confusing. Well, this is how the game has been going on between various different races from the fallen matrix and from this particular time matrix, literally since Atlantis and before, but particularly since 1992, when a set of agreements called the Palladian-Syrian agreements were made between certain invading races who agreed to play nice because they thought they were going to lose from the other invading races. Those agreements were broken. They were peace agreements with the guardian races. They were peace agreements with the human race. They were peace agreements that promised that certain races would not attempt to take over the Templar and suck it into a black hole during the stellar activation cycle. Those agreements were broken on September 12th of 2000. To commemorate that event, they were broken with an edict of war that was issued against all guardian nations. We were told to clear out, get off planet, you can evacuate 50,000 of your own, and the rest are ours. The guardian races said they don't think so. You know, we've been in this drama too long, we're not going to run 50,000, you got to be kidding. So, a war edict was issued against what are called the founders races. These are races from the Lyra star system. That's where we all started, the cradle of Lyra. But we didn't start in what's called density 1, dimensions 1, 2, and 3. We started in dimensions 13, 14, and 15, and then entered Lyra at dimension 12. Dimension 12, 11, and 10 hold the stargates that are the Lyran stargates. We are dealing with the founders races from those systems and from levels beyond this 15-dimensional time matrix that are called the Eka God World systems. We'll talk a little bit about those. They're extensively covered in the Dance for programs, particularly Dance for Love, where the Eka maps of the God World gates are revealed. You're going to get a really quick crash course in what they look like, and hopefully a basic understanding of what those particular gates are. They're stargates that not only connect this 15-dimensional matrix to itself, but connect it to the rest of creation. So we're going to get a crash course in all of this stuff through this weekend, and my heart goes out to people who are new to the work, because you probably feel like you got abducted and put on a spaceship by the time you get done with this workshop, and then you got put back in your regular reality when you go home and kind of go, what in God's name was she talking about? But pieces of it will stick. And what's most important is that if you can find enough trust, not in me, but in, let's say, the belief in the love for genuine goodwill and for real truth, and if you can believe there's a part of you that has that, and that's the part of you that sent you here in the first place, to participate in the exercises. Because the one gift that can be given to everybody right now is the exercises, and they're not that hard. They take a while to run them the first time, but once you get to a certain point with the exercises, it becomes easy and automatic to activate the flame body in the field. Right now, the flame body is the immunity from the things that are going to come. On March 23rd of this year, an event happened. The event has to do with the beast machine that I was talking about. The beginning set of activations of the beast machine were set in motion by a group called the United Intruder Resistance, which are some of those friendly fellas from the black hole system that are planning to take over the planet and the particular universe in this stellar activation cycle. When the beast began, now it's not fully activated yet, there's a whole series of frequency codes that need to be put into various what are called implants within the interdimensional intergalactic systems to begin a progressive stage of activation of this machine called the beast. Because of the beginning activation cycle that was set in motion on March 23rd, the guardian races went from what was called Plan A, fix it, to Plan B, evac. That's serious stuff. We've never been teachers of doom and gloom. We've never been teachers of fear-based things. We've always taught people to celebrate, show them their connection to Source, how to activate that in their body, and how to be afraid of nothing. And we still teach that. This isn't about being afraid, but it's about being aware and being smart and using your energy well. When we went to Plan B, it meant that certain things about fixing the planetary Templar and the planetary grid so it could be protected from that invasion attempt, those particular options were no longer available. There was not enough time to fix it anymore. Plan B is not just evacuation. Now, you think of evacuation and you think of bodies running to somewhere where somebody takes them into something and gets them out of here, right? Well, that's one way to evac. But there's another way, and it's the ideal way, which is at least part of the planetary grids can go with you, which means the bodies don't run off the planet, but the bodies activate enough of their own higher dimensional spiritual identity and the frequencies it carries to sustain the planet and create protection fields. So literally, the part of the planet can be evacuated itself into a safe zone. That zone is called the bridge zone, where it won't be subjected to black hole fall. Black hole fall was metaphorically described in biblical revelations. See, what happens when a matter system gets pulled into a black hole, particularly a planet, which is a large matter system, or a galaxy, which is larger, there's a condition called hydrogen burning that takes place in the atmosphere. Hydrogen turns to helium, the atmosphere turns to helium, it all goes boom and lots of fire. The planet becomes a star, except it's not real pleasant for the people standing on it. Now, if a person has a flame body activated, their own natural flame body, which is an organic part of your internal Templar, the frequencies that would create and generate hydrogen burning within the atmosphere will move through you. You'll be able to transmute them and not be harmed by them. If bodies like that can get their flame bodies activated on planet, they can build at least a partial planetary flame body, which means when those frequencies move through, portions of the planetary grids won't suffer the three-dimensional consequences of what it would mean to go through hydrogen burning and black hole fall. This is part of the original human commission, was to show up on this planet at this time in order to serve a healing role, because we have right within our DNA and right within our biofields and our chakra systems and our template the ability to run enough frequency to generate that protection field for this planet. That's becoming extremely important now with the Plan B agenda. The Guardian races didn't want the Plan B agenda. It was an agenda that was chosen by the invading races who decided to break the peace treaties. They were not planning to activate the beast mechanism until 2011. Anybody that knows about the Wingmaker site in New Mexico and all this like wild stuff that's on the internet about wingmakers and all that, the Wingmaker site and the beings who are talking to the people who are doing the Wingmaker site, there's a group called the Labyrinth Group. It's a group of humans who are secretly talking to ETs who are telling them how to build a machine. The machine is part of the beast mechanism. They're being tricked. We have all sorts of machines on the planet right now. We have horns and bells and whistles and harps and things like that that are part of the beast machine. We have an interesting deadline coming up. It has to do with the fact that the beast began its first level, high level out there in the galactic core and things, activation, on March 23rd of this year. We went to Plan B. Now, that still didn't mean the beast was going to activate before 2011, and it still meant that there might be negotiations with the invading races that they wouldn't activate it at all. They still had the choice. Because there's a certain set of sequences, mathematical programs, that once they're put into the crystalline mechanics of the beast mechanism, that you can't turn it off. Now, that didn't happen on March 23rd. It could still be turned off, but Guardian races couldn't turn it off. It would blow all sorts of things up like this universal time matrix. It had to be turned off by those who set the codes in the first place. They chose instead not to do that. On July 24th, while we were on the Bermuda trip, the second set of activation trigger codes were put in. The United Resistance people, which are connected with a group called the Black Hole Matrix, entered the next series of codes. That's the point of no return. That means the beast is activating. And it activates automatically. It goes on autopilot. And it activates over a certain time period. It will begin a process of running frequencies on this planet that its planet has never seen. Excuse me. These frequencies will begin moving into this planet, into the planetary template, into the planetary Templar, into our bodies and the atmosphere and the stone beneath our feet on May 27th of 2003. Now, this is why we are being given the flame body technologies now, because they are the only frequencies strong enough to override the frequencies of the beast. The beast is an amazing mechanism. The brilliance that goes into, like the mental brilliance that goes into creating such a thing. It is a high level of genius. We're talking D11 dark avatars from the fallen matrix. This is what was meant originally, and still is, by the Antichrist. With the March 23rd events, where the first phase was set in motion, it began the period that, in biblical terms, was called the tribulation. It began a process of the release of the seals, the 7 seals, and all sorts of things. The Bible was totally coded. It was a fairy tale told around a reality of science. But it was coded in a way so people on Earth couldn't understand it. Because the Bible was originally teachings from what were called the Emerald Covenant, Cloister Doratura plates, and the Mahabharata texts, which were the ancient Founders Race teachings. The last time the plates were given to us on this planet was 246,000 BC. These are very old. Makes the Bible look new. These things were originally retranslated by the person who became known as Jesus Christ in the Bible, and by the people who worked with him, by his half-sister Miriam, and by who was Speaker 1 in that lifetime, a person called John the Baptist. They had translated the information we're teaching now into the biblical text. And boy, were they hunted. The Pharisees, the Sadducees, the Romans, everybody ganged up on them. And what culminated in becoming the Bible were the remnants of those teachings that had been confiscated by the Church of Rome. They took out most of the history, they twisted parts of it, and they took out the science teachings. But they left parts of the fairy tale, particularly in the book of Revelation. The Bible used to be a holy book, and it still is, written in code. But the code was changed by races that live on this planet that are connected to the black hole races. Those races are called the Leviathan races. Collectively, they're called the Leviathan Force. They are a hybrid race of people, also known in contemporary times as the Illuminati, family lines. These family lines, most of the people who are in them are asleep too, but they're being manipulated from behind the scenes until they wake up, and when they wake up, they're usually not very nice people. The Leviathan races were created in the Atlantean period, beginning, I believe, 150,000 BC. They were a healing experiment of hybridization that the guardian races allowed and the human races helped participate in to try to assist certain of the fallen races who had tried to invade here and created an animal form that they used as slave labor when they would invade. The invading races were the Anunnaki races that you hear some people talk about out there. The form that they created was what we call the Neanderthal, but it was really a combination of stolen human gene code. It was made in a petri dish, basically. It was laboratory created. It took the genome of various animal beings, part of them from a planet called Nibiru that used to be in our solar system, and combined them into creating a slave animal form that had a bit of intelligence that they gained from capturing humans, torturing them, and doing genetic extraction that they could then later use for genetic combining, just like here we are going into a phase of science where we grow ears on the back of mice. Well, they were combining things to come up with things, and one of the things they came up with was an ape-type hominid that was called a Lulcus in true terms. It was called the Neanderthal when you look back and what our science calls those things that they find ancient bones of. That was used as the base of a hybridization, or what's called a bioregenesis attempt, on some of the fallen races who had agreed to play nice. They wanted help out of the black hole system because they can't live in a natural system because their templates actually carry reverse mathematical coding. There's a way to help them to a certain degree if they don't completely fall. But if they completely fall, you can't reverse the damage. So there was an attempt made to heal these races on this planet, in Atlantis. And that attempt backfired, because once they got into body on this planet, they took over those race lines. There was several upgrades, 5 altogether. I think it was the second upgrade from the Wokas to the Iluli races. And the Iluli races, the first one was the tribe of Levi. All right, this is where these names are coming from. They were put in the Bible as if they were the real 12 tribes, human tribes, as if they all came out of Israel, as if they were all Hebrew. They weren't. But anyway, these races have been cultivated and raised here. And they've been raised as clueless as anybody else. We've all had our memory banks wiped out. That's very easy to do if you understand DNA and magnetism and planetary grids. All you have to do is mess with the planetary magnetosphere, and it will affect the function of human DNA, which affects the function of human memory. There were events that took place here. One of them, notably in 3,400 and, what was it? What is that? 3,400 and something 6 BC? The Tower of Babel story in the Bible. That was one of them. We have all these dates. It's been a while since I did the history, and I used to have them. I can do them off the top of my head, but there's more important stuff right now. But all of this history has been recorded. Some of it is summarized in Voyages Volume 2, 2nd edition. Some of it is in the Templar course book. So I'm not just talking off my sleeve. I know, this stuff has been revealed to us. The information on the history has been revealed off the CDD plates, which are the ancient records. They were records that were kept by races of beings called the Iani races, who exist in a place that has come down in our legends to be called Inner Earth. But Inner Earth isn't at the core of our Earth. It's actually through the core of our Earth and then through the core of our Sun, and up into the Lyra system and through the core of Lyra Aramatena, which is what our scientists call Lyra Double-Double, the star called the Double-Double. Once you go through those gate connections, you get into a place called the Inner Eka universe system. This is the original system that our systems here manifested outward from. When we begin to understand some of the things that we'll cover tomorrow, which are a really quick crash course in the Eka maps of the God World gates, you'll start to see where the inner Eka system is in relation to our system. But these races, these are the original founding race humans that have been the guardians. They are eternal, by the way. They do not experience biological death. They have overcome that. Humans were not originally created to die. They were created with a template. They had the ability to ascend up and down the stargates at will. They were created as avatars and spiritual masters. They weren't intended to experience biological death nor reincarnation, but they ended up trapped in those cycles because of DNA mutation that blocked their ability to bring the frequencies into their body. So we have some friends, lots of friends, up there in the universe. We have lots of friends further up in what are called the Eka God worlds, which are reality systems that are vast and massive compared to the little ones we know when we look out with our Hubble spacecraft and see when we see our universe. This is one tiny little three-dimensional universe. There are 5 of those just within one 15-dimensional time matrix, and there are many 15-dimensional time matrices. So we're not alone in this drama, and God is always with us, because we can never be separate from God. We are literally, all is taking place within the actual consciousness of God itself, and it moves through all of us. When we begin to open our frequencies and get ourselves back into our bodies, get our soul into our body, then our oversoul, then our avatar level of identity, then what's called our rishi level, and then our own ascended master level of identity, we begin to know God very closely, because we begin to experience the feeling of less and less separation between ourselves and the magnitude of all creation that is God. So we don't have to be frightened in the drama that's coming up. And there's some fun parts of it too. Heck, it's like losing a wonderful gift you had. You put it away someplace, and then you forgot you had it, and we're getting to rediscover it again. We're getting to rediscover humans' ability to know eternal life, to know instant healing from the inside out, to know how to go through a stargate and end up in another time, or another place, or another density level. It is a time that is truly unprecedented in the history of this time matrix. 250 billion years ago, before this system down here was created in the lower densities, there was a trauma that took place between what are called the Christos founders races, and a whole group of them called the Anu Elohim fell. They became twisted in their thinking and in their templates, and they waged a war that destroyed what was called Stargate 12, the pre-matter divine blueprint for this, the 12 dimensions of this 15-dimensional matrix. That's where the trouble began. With that trouble, there came a decision from the races who hadn't fallen, a decision made of love, a decision that there would be a healing experiment allowed. It was an experiment because they didn't know if it would work. They didn't know if a catastrophe as large as that could be healed in terms of salvaging the fallen ones, all of them, and literally where a black hole was formed, turning it back into its organic programming through healing. There was a time limit put on the extent of this healing endeavor. It would either end when everything was pulled back out of the black hole and healed, or it would end when the black hole got so big it was going to pull in the whole 12 dimensions of the 15-dimensional time matrix. As I'd said before, we reached that point in 22,326 BC of critical mass black hole draw. There was a final conflict drama, a battle, a war that began there. There was an event called the Eshana massacre when the races from the inner ecosystems came here. They came here to help, and they were literally wiped out by the invading races and by some trickery that went down. The trickery has to do with a book that's coming back into our world these days called the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. That was information that was stolen from the CDD plates and used pervertedly to mess with the stargates in a way that allowed for a massive invasion to take place, so the ones who came in to help were decimated. But there was also a stalemate that was rendered during that time period. A stalemate because in order for full invasion to take place here, the stargates have to be open. When the Eshana massacre took place, the Eshana had one final little victory in that. In their failure, they had one victory. They were able to run the frequencies to close the gates fast. It created partial pole shift, but it stopped full descent of this planet and the systems it's connected to into the black hole system. The conflict drama, the final conflict battle, which has been long called the Battle of Armageddon, was put off until the next Stargate cycle, when the gates were open. That's now. And we're in the middle of it. The only thing is, we haven't seen it yet. Unless you happen to have your astral eyes open and you're running around interdimensionally. Then you'll get it. Excuse me. What's taking place right now is, it's almost merciful that it's moving fast, because if we knew this, all of this information, and then had to sit here and wait till 2011, it's like, it's almost more painful that way. This is why the information is only given to us as we need to know it. The guardian races don't want to traumatize us. They will give us what we need to know when we need to use it. They won't try to give us information that's so-so. If it's like, well, it might go this way and it might be a negative thing, they won't tell us that. They won't tell us a negative until they know. Because if they do, all they're going to do is generate our fear patterns around it, and we're going to energize it, and it'll help make it happen. When they begin to tell us serious stuff about serious things happening, it's after a whole lot of checks and balances. They don't just say those things to us offhandedly. They don't just say them if they're not phase locked, as they call it, into the grids. The word phase lock is interesting. We'll talk about that tomorrow and the next day too, as it applies to our DNA and some other things. But phase lock means locked into, okay? You're in a phase or a particular pattern and you get locked into phase lock. Our grids, planetary grids, those planetary shields I talked about, phase locked on March 23rd of 2002. That phase lock means certain things are no longer an option for healing. Now when you add the next level of activation of the beast to that, that makes the situation a little bit more time to stand up and pay attention. We're being given the technologies, and you will get them in this weekend. You may not get the whole story. I mean, there's lots of books already that we've written in the last 4 years. All this information has been given in 4 years, in a 4-year period. That's huge. We can hardly keep up with ourselves trying to translate it and get it on paper for you. But you will be given the flame body activation technologies. That is the beginning. That's what can you do if the drama is so big and everything seems so like amazing? What can you do as one single person just trying to have a decent life and hopefully trying to be spiritual? What can you do to, first of all, feel okay when you wake up in the morning and walk through your day. If this stuff is going to happen, and you can leave it at that. If you're new to the work and you're not too sure, that's okay. You don't have to believe us. We're not here to prove anything to anybody or to make you believe our way. But the flame body activations will give you a whole bunch of advantages. First, it'll help you to get yourself into body, like your soul, your oversoul, and your avatar level, your Christos consciousness, into body as quick as possible, which means you'll be able to figure a lot of this out by yourself much more quickly. But it will also give you protection against the frequencies that are going to be coming into this planet on May 27, 2003. On May 27, 2003, the planet is entering what is called the Fire Sword Initiation. Picture this. Picture a large flaming blue sword, okay, in the shape of a cross. The horizontal crosspiece goes through a set of 3 stargates that link 2 black holes and our stargate. Those stargate numbers are stargate number 6 in our matrix, stargate number 6 in what's called phantom matrix black hole, and stargate number 6 in what's called the Wisirek, the big black hole matrix. The 666, that's the meaning of the 666. It is the sign of the beast. And the blue sword is the frequency. It is what is called a D13, dimension 13, artificially generated dimension 13, reversed matrix Metatronic current. Now, there's words out there in the New Age movement that they're throwing around and laughing behind our backs. Oh, we're hailing Metatron, we're hailing Archangel Michael's flaming blue sword, all this stuff. We have no idea. It's all been a setup to help us be the vessels through which it could anchor on this planet. That flaming blue sword, the Guardians like to call it the flaming blue sword from hell, is the frequency that is meant to create a condition called monadic reversal. Now, that's a big word, but it isn't really. It's a small word with a big concept behind it. Monadic reversal simply means if you take a template, there is a program within that template that's held in the 8th dimensional level, which is called the monadic level. It's connected to bigger parts of the program that hold the mathematical manifestation program for the whole template. If you take the mathematical program upon which a template or a shield was built, and you mathematically reverse it, that is called monadic reversal. In order for our system, or any one of our bodies, or any one of our planets, to be pulled into a black hole system, requires that our shields undergo monadic reversal. The mathematical programming has to be reversed. Now, to do that, you have to run very strong frequency using the alternate reversed mathematical pattern into the shield, into the bodies, into the planetary body, into the galactic body, into the solar body. And if that frequency is strong enough, the stronger or dominant frequency will reset the pattern. Normally, we would be protected from that kind of thing because human bodies and indigo bodies have the ability to run what's called D12 frequency. That's pre-matter hydroplasm liquid light frequency. That is the Christos frequency. Dimension 12, it connects us to the higher parts of the universe, the primal light and sound fields of dimension 13, 14, and 15, and higher. D12 frequency usually is enough to clear any reversal distortion in any template. Now, this planet has had D12 frequency shut off and blocked from the grids since 208,216 BC. That's a long time. Fortunately for us, the Guardian race has finally repaired the Templar enough here to get it activated on January 1st, 2000. And that's when the shit hit the fan, put it bluntly. That's when, stargates are going to open, final conflict drama, it's time. So, in the gift, there also came the payment for the gift. We have to clean up a mess that's been in this system, on this planet, for a very, very long time. The D13 reverse current is an artificially generated current created by all sorts of crystalline implants and things called lenses. All right, just like a lens on a glass, lenses, crystalline lenses of selenite especially, can be used to refract energy, electromagnetic energy, laser energy, light, sound waves, those kind of things. Lenses can be used to bend light and sound. And when you bend light and sound in certain ways, you can create real messes. You can even create an artificial D13, which is a primal light field blue current, which is what was done in the Wisadek fallen matrix. That current has the ability to shatter the D12 pre-matter divine blueprint in this time matrix, and that's their objective. Because if they can do that, they can pull everything below it down into their matrix. The D13 reverse current is created by forcefully bonding a D7, dimension 7 current, reverse current, and a dimension 6 reverse current, and forcing them into an artificial electronic bond, or electrostatic bond, which is called a metatronic bond. There's a whole set of technologies that are called the metatronic technologies that are literally the sign, signature, and DNA code of the beast. Our bodies right now on this planet and its shields itself have been metatronically implanted since the Atlantean period, since 25,500 BC. Those implants within our bodies, our DNA template, and the planetary grids will begin to sing and activate in response to the frequencies of the blue sword. Now, people that have been playing with Archangel Michael and not knowing what they were really playing with, people who were playing with certain Thoth-inspired belief systems who have been running energy in certain ways. These people have been getting their early entry into the fire sword initiation. These people have been being tricked into activating the metatronic implants to progressively create monadic reversal in their own bodies so they could be used as vessels to anchor more and more of the blue sword frequencies when it came in on a planetary level. Most of those people don't know that they've been tricked in that way or harmed in that way. You should see how the people in some of these movements, like me and to them, we're the Antichrist. Well, if you're using the flaming blue sword from hell as your Christ, we certainly are. But if you're using the natural D12 and higher divine blueprint of this time matrix, that is the eternal life base 12 system, the Antichrist goes the other way. So, this planet is going to get what it has been holding its breath for many millions of years. Literally, this whole time matrix, for 150 billion years, has been perched on the edge of whether or not this time would ever come. Whether or not the beast would be assembled piece by piece over many wars and many implants being put in, enough that it could actually do this. It can. We are at the end of an old cycle, but we are also at the beginning of a new one. It's a cycle, the golden age of waking up, the cycle of all those things that are promised us in the New Age movement, of the knowledge coming back, of free energy systems and understanding how to run them, of internally generated health, of immortal life, immortality, ascension, which is Stargate passage, those kind of things. All of those things, those promises are being brought back to us now. But there's a little problem that we need to work through in order to be able to take those promises of our heritage and run with them. We're going to have a joyous outcome, but it may be interesting to watch what it looks like getting there. There are outside dramas that are taking place and inside dramas that are taking place. The outside dramas have to do with certain family lines on the planet, most of whom aren't awake and don't realize what family lines they're connected to, being guided into creating certain dramas politically. Those dramas at their core, though they may have other reasons and excuses on the outside that we're being fed in order to have us think it's okay to go do that somewhere, to go attack this place or that place. What the dramas are really about is what side is going to control what land masses when this intended fall starts to happen. Now, the planetary grids hold 12 stargates. They connect to 12 galactic stargates that connect to 12 universal stargates. The territories of the 12 stargates, which there is a list in there. I think it's like in microscopic print because that's a consolidation of a lot of graphs in your books you have there. But we have been given the locations of our planetary stargates and of the galactic ones and the universal ones, all of that. It's very interesting to watch because one important stargate is Stargate 10, and it's located in Iraq. Yeah. There's some interesting, another one is located in, Stargate 6 is located in Moscow. There's some real interesting places where stargates are located, and if you begin to understand where they're located and watch the dramas that have historically, and especially are now, beginning to emerge, you can start to understand that there is an internal drama taking place between two warring factions. There are two core warring factions, both of which are from the Wissadek black hole system, both of which hold the agenda of taking over and taking this place and literally this matrix into their system. Both of which have different territories in their system. And whoever's got their codes in the grids when it falls will get the territory on the other side. They have to fight their battle here. We're beginning to watch the political manifestation. And it starts and it stops, then something else happens and we're watching like fluff on TV and all these little things run across the bottom of the television. Did you ever catch those? You know, the most important ones run across when you have something of mild interest to distract you here, so you miss that one that went across once and you never see it again, right? We're watching these things go. Oh, they're releasing the information because we are in a free country. Our Constitution guarantees that, doesn't it? Yeah. That's what they say. So, there's going to be a very distracting political drama that emerges on the outside. We're going to get our strings jerked with the economic system at some point. There's going to be, probably it's going to look like a heart machine, you know, with the dee-dee-dee-dee-dee with the stock market. Oh, it's going down, it's going down. Oh, it's going back up, everybody's okay. Oh, it's going down again. We're going to dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. This keeps us in constant turbulence and constant distraction and agitation. You know, because most of us are so keyed into, well, first of all, you have to be somewhat keyed in to the financial reality on the planet, because at this point, if you're not, everybody owns everything, and there's no place you can go and run away to unless you want to like fly to the moon all by yourself, but they already own that too. And basically, if you go and try to put yourself in your little tent on somebody else's property, they can come out with a gun and shoot you or have you arrested as a vagrant. So there is nowhere to run left on this planet. You can go hide in a cave until somebody finds you. But as soon as they find you, they're going to drag you out and put you somewhere else. You lose your freedom that way. So we're all tied into financial strings. We're lucky in America and in the first world countries, because at least we're not being constantly jerked around like the people in Africa, like the people in the starving countries. A lot of the politics that goes on behind the scenes has created on purpose those conditions in those countries to limit and control certain gene lines that are called the Grail lines. The Grail lines in the human and indigo races, and they're all over. They're not in just any one color skin or any one ethnic background. But the Grail line groups hold the ability to run in their DNA the most frequency. So they are the biggest threat to the invading races, because they're the ones that have the ability to actually run enough frequency, even small groups of them, that they could make a difference and stop black hole fall. There's been a systematic, all through history since Atlantis. If you look at what groups were slaughtering who, during our recorded history. All of this slaughter was either to get grid control over certain areas that were connected to the gates, or to reduce Grail line populations and to make more of Leviathan hybrid Illuminati populations. Because it takes a lot more Illuminati bodies to run as much frequency as one human or indigo could. There was the command of, go forth and multiply, and keep multiplying like rabbits, that was given. Right now we have so many people on this planet, the planet's ready to fall out of orbit. It was never meant to hold this many bodies. This many bodies were never intended to be here. The sad thing is, the people who have, let's say, it's almost, you could look at it as a disability of soul, that have actually incarnated from those fallen race matrices. The people they've become here just know themselves as people, most of them. They don't know what they're connected to. They don't know there's a difference between a human with a human soul and a human with something else in it. These people are actually genetically vulnerable. They're not evil people to go out and like, oh, you're bad. Not that at all. They have a genetic vulnerability that means beings from the black hole matrix can, if they want to, push their way into their body forms at some point for full takeover. In the old days, they used to call that possession. In the science days, they used to call it essence displacement. If the Wissadeks do it, it's called absorption, because they don't just displace the being that's in the body. They absorb it. They tear its template apart and reassemble it on what's called the base 8 reverse Metatronic code. And that's how they get into bodies here. It's funny, I hate talking about invasions because they really stink. But we're in the middle of a mess that we can get out of. But a lot of people out there are aware that, oh, there's something out there, they're like ETs or something, and there might be an invasion happening. They're watching the sky, they're waiting for spaceships, you know, they're waiting for Independence Day movies. They don't get it yet. The invasion is coming through the bodies themselves, through the biofields of the people here, particularly the Illuminati people that have the vulnerabilities in their gene codes. On May 27, 2003, for example, there's going to be what is called the first wave. The first wave of D11 dark avatars coming into body on planet. They've already prepared the people. The people are already have their Metatronic implants activated. It's just a matter of going in for the kill. It's not going to kill the bodies. They're going to wear them. There are, I believe, and I asked for a check on this, it wasn't 2 million, it was 20. There are 20. There are 20 million, a wave of 20 million of them coming in for a full body snatch on the 27th of May alone. That's just wave one. Now, it's going to be interesting. So watch the eyes of the people on TV that are in political positions and stuff. Just watch them. Just see if they act like the same people. Feel the energy out around them. Except the interesting thing is, you might want to do that, unfortunately, with your neighbor or your minister or your doctor. If you're somebody important, you might get one personally sent just to mess with you. Somebody important means you have a lot to wake up to in your gene code, and you're actually a powerful avatar yourself that just isn't awake yet. They're the ones that they'll send in the harassment team for first. Now, this isn't good news. I hate being the harbinger of bad news. It's not a role I like. I remember I was eased into this stuff gently, so the people who are just coming into this, bless you, because I remember when they're progressively letting me know little bits more about, well, there's a few problems. You know, all the Ascension stuff is great, and, you know, the Stargate stuff, it's all true and all there. But there are a few little historical problems that we kind of need to work out. I remember I went through, at times, feeling devastated emotionally. I felt horribly betrayed because I thought I was just going to be one of those New Age teachers like all the other guys, and we'd all get along really well because we were all on the same team. Oh, boy, was I disappointed. It was very, very hard, even with the fact that I've had knowledge of all of my incarnations open since birth. I remembered my fetal integration process. I remember the Eoni, and I've had physical contact with them between the ages of 4 and 7, and I've had training with them all along. What they didn't train me was the full history records. They protected me from that knowledge. I have memory of being in the dramas that are recorded in the CDD plates. But even all of that wasn't enough at first to prepare me. When I started having to face the scope and the scale of the drama we're in, I went through, I wouldn't say I was afraid. It wasn't fear. It was just a very deep sorrow and disgust. Anger, but you couldn't even be angry. You're just, oh, forget it. Get me out of here. Yeah, that was my first thing. Can I please leave now? It's like, leave or go back to sleep, one or the other, because at this point I think ignorance is bliss. Unfortunately, that is a stance a lot of people will take. And I have a lot of compassion for them, because it is nicer to think everybody gets along and the whole New Age movement is going to co-join with the older age movement and the traditional religions, and they're all going to be one lovey-dovey worldwide religion. Excuse me, that's called the One World Order. Everybody's going to be happy. Stargates are going to open. We're going to have our wonderful brethren from the sky come and tell us our history. Yeah, and call us and say that we're they're the creator gods and that we have to bow down to them. The whole lie that we've been fed here is so much easier to digest and to believe and to accept as the truth. We can go run for our Bibles or run for our Korans or run for our New Age next channel book that we can find. But it isn't going to change the reality of the drama. The reason this information is being revealed to us now is because we have the power, if we know who we are, to do something about it in a way that is helpful to everyone, those who will rise and those who will fall. Because at this point in the drama, there are 2 paths of evolution, only 2 now. There used to be 3, one called Phantom Matrix. That is not an option anymore, because Phantom Matrix is being sucked into the Wissadek black hole. It's like one black hole swallowing another. There is what is called the path of ascension and the path of descension, de-evolution. the path of ascension, or being able to regenerate the ability for Stargate passage and spiritual integration and spiritual mastery and eternal life. That is part of what is called the Bridge Zone Project, where we will be protected and we will assist the guardian races in protecting as much of this planet as we can to bring it through into a safe zone where the races and the life forms on this planet have an opportunity to evolve for about 2,000 years in a protected field where they can literally get back into their natural rhythm of what time was supposed to be. Evolution had a certain rhythm to it. It was supposed to be happening here. Since 25,500 BC, we've been trapped in an evolutionary loop that is totally unnatural, that was created by certain elements of the beast machine. Not the whole thing, because the whole thing wasn't activated. The other path is black hole fall. The mercy of it is the people who fall won't know they did, because they are being blocked from this information. They are being told this information is evil. They are being told not to listen. They are not activating their flame bodies. They are activating their Metatronic implants, and the flaming blue sword will begin to pierce their bodies and run down through the center of them and cross over through the heart chakra until it fully integrates their whole system. What they will experience is something that will be remembered when the final separation comes, something that will be remembered by the ascending races. So we'll be the ones that carry the sadness of the memory of the people who made other choices that were really self-defeating. They won't remember when they get to the other side. First of all, to fall into a black hole, remember I said hydrogen burning? The bodies will perish. You can't keep a body alive and drag it through a black hole. The templates will fragment and the consciousness in them will fragment, but they will be held in what's called an electrostatic suspension field, otherwise called the net, which is called the Nibiruan electrostatic transduction field, NET for short. That is part of the beast mechanism that was put in on this planet in 25,500 BC, and right now is holding our shadow bodies in suspension. So there are two paths of evolution, and we have a choice. Whatever choice a being makes, they are loved, at least by the guardian races. If they make a choice because they are so conned into believing the twists and turns of ideologies that have been promoted by the black hole systems. There are reasons, too, that people will make that choice. In truth, there are no victims. It may have been that in Atlantis, that same being decided to take the fire sword initiation, fully knowing what it meant. Now, you'd think you'd have to be pretty twisted to make a dumb decision like that. That's what all of the founders' races thought, too, for the races who chose that way of living. Most of the people who took fire sword initiation at any point in their incarnational history did so first out of trickery. First, they were tricked into thinking it was ascension. Secondly, they were tricked into thinking the true ascension teachings were the ones that would harm them. And they took the initiations, and once the initiations were took and the flaming blue sword's frequency began to activate in the body, it progressively allowed the mind to be taken over by the mind of a Wisadek, which are one of the ones from the big black hole matrix. And once the Wisadek's in your brain, there's not a lot of you left, because it thinks for you. You know, there's a system out there right now, a popular New Age system, that calls them thought adjusters. Oh, just call for your thought adjuster to come, and it'll help you solve all your problems. It'll keep you from pain and all of these things. This is some of the nonsense that's being fed to people in the New Age movement, and they're not stupid people. The thing is, it's being done very cleverly, and it's being done with a knowledge that we don't have the original records to compare it to anymore. We don't have the memory of how things work, so okay, maybe it works that way. Just like when science takes a look at the human genome and says, that's a normal human genome, we've mapped it completely. Well, you're not going to be able to tell if that's really a full human genome unless you see the original prototype, which they don't do. People in the New Age movement are not being shown the original prototype of the founders' spiritual teachings, which were the Templar teachings of divine science. So if you don't have that to compare it to, anything looks good. You know, it's like you emerge out of the old dogmas of the past that took once upon a time sacred teachings, twisted them into dogmas to control masses of people, and they became our traditional religions, and it happened to every one of them. There are elements of truth and huge elements of fiction in every holy book on this planet and every religion. So no religion can stand up and say, we have more truth than you, because they've all been messed with. and they all contain a bit of sacred as well. But the original place where all of the sacred teachings came from were the original Founders Race teachings. They're the teachings of the Emerald Covenants that were recorded on the Cloister Doratura plates, which are holographic discs, recorder discs, that were manufactured in the Sirius star system and brought to Earth 246,000 BC. There were translations on paper, sort of, papyrus-type paper, made of these digital texts. The physical books that were written texts were called the Mahabharata texts. The ascension teachings that we teach, which are Stargate teachings, which are healing your DNA and activating your flame body teachings, they are drawn directly from translation, contemporary translation, of the CDD plates and the Mahabharata texts. There's a lot more, and this is where the detail is there. You should see trying to translate this stuff. It's all encrypted digitally. It's an amazing process. Just, I mean, Az and I are going through it, and just the frequency as it comes through your body, there's so much contained within every little bit of it. It's absolutely exhausting to hold the frequency that knowledge rides on sometimes. Excuse me. Just getting over a cold. We picked up a cold thing in Santa Fe when we were there, and literally have been sick with it for the last, 2 weeks since we've been there. Just getting over it. Anyway, we have a lot to learn together for those of you who have the courage, and a lot of you do, because I know there's a lot of familiar faces that keep coming back, and I'm very glad. I'm glad to know that you found enough of your ancient self in there, that whatever little piece you grabbed onto, that when you came to your first workshop, said, well, I'm kind of lost on some stuff, but that piece, okay, I can work with that. That's the first step. If you find a piece of anything that's said that you feel you can work with, I wish for the new people that we could start you with tangible structure of the soul, learn about your spiritual body 101, because it's very, very helpful to understand that. But right now, we need to release information because we have a May 27, 2003 deadline to get certain things accomplished. If the people who are new to this program would like to find out the missing pieces that will help ease you into the stuff we're going to talk about in this workshop. It's like you started in college, but you forgot to go to kindergarten through high school. So there's a reason, though. You got guided here by some part of yourself, your soul, your oversoul, your avatar self, which means even though it might be confusing on a conscious level right now, you have the capacity in your DNA, in your mind, in your body to hold an understanding of the knowledge, even if at first it's a little challenging. We suggest getting the other programs. One of the best things you can do for a quick course is once they're not available yet, but they're coming out very soon. I'm not sure when they'll be ready, but the tapes that were made from the Phoenix workshop, that takes you through. It was a wonderful balance of combining the spiritual get-it stuff with the technical, okay, science stuff with, okay, this is the drama we're in stuff. So it's a good place to start. We'll let you know when they come out. And they're really good for anybody who wants them. Okay. Tentatively, possibly the third week of October, they'll be ready. So they're a good crash course for anybody that hasn't taken the dance floor programs that wants to. They're, as far as the ones we have available, the tapes of workshops, that's the most consolidated version of them. So we'd suggest them. In the meantime, we have 2 days to spend together. And in those 2 days, we're going to do some, if you're new to the work, some wacky, wonderful things with your mind, running energy consciously in your body. We will do the flame body activations. There are a series of 7 very major activations. Now, an activation is something that you use your mind. Nobody's doing something to you. Nobody's going to zap you. It's not another flaming blue sword initiation, thank you. This is something you will run yourself using the frequencies that are organic to your body. You will have the choice. You don't have to. I mean, it's always, we don't force you to do these things, and nobody's going to zap you if you don't want to get zapped. But you will be able to run the frequencies through the step-by-step meditations. These are active meditations. They're meditations that are meant to activate very specific portions of your own personal scalar template under the D12 base 12 Christos imprint. It's awakening your inner Christos. But this is the fast track. This is like the real fast train, the train that goes so fast that you don't see it. We started in the beginning with the Maharic seal, running a technique called the Maharic seal. That was the beginning of bringing D12 frequency subharmonics back into the body. People on this planet couldn't do this since 208,216 BC because the planet couldn't run D12 subharmonics. They're the Christos frequencies, because the word Christos refers to the D12 pre-matter divine blueprint template of this universal matrix that we're all connected to. Finally, with the gift of the D12 frequencies being able to run through the planetary Templar, that was given to us on January 1st, 2000, we were given back the technologies that go with them of how to begin healing our bodies using that frequency. We were put on the moderate pace track of getting yourself in body and getting your DNA activated and getting your flame body activated, the moderate pace track. As the drama has progressed here, and things have gotten more serious as far as needing to have certain levels of protection and awareness in your body by certain times because of certain things that other forces are doing on the planet. We have been progressively given a series of more intense and more intense activations. The activations are sequential. They are activations of frequency which turn on some of the dormant scalar waves, those little standing columnar waves that your core template is made out of. It's turning them on progressively, but in the right sequence, which means you're not going to get frequencies that come in that are supposed to come in second, but they come in first and they blow your template apart. These are activations of Kundalini energy in the body, between the cranial sacral seals that control the main vertical currents of frequency that run up and down the body. But beyond Kundalini, Kundalini is a 9-dimensional activation. It's called activation of the Antakarana. But if you're going to be a Christos being, you need more than 9 dimensions of frequency, you need 12. That current is called the Maharada current. They each have a different name, and the name is the audible translation of their vibrational signature. So we are activating not just Kundalini, but the Maharada frequencies above it, the D12, Christos, liquid light, hydroplasmic, pre-matter template frequencies of you. We each have one, the planet has one, the galaxy is all bit. You're bringing that part of you. It's not just a frequency, it's also a consciousness. You're awakening it in your body. With the flame body activations, which require running D12 frequency as a minimum, you cannot activate what is called the Amareya flame body in the body or in the field without first activating the D12 frequency subharmonics all the way down in your dimensional parts. The D12 frequency, the Maharada ray, as they call it, is the pale silver liquid light carrier wave that the higher frequencies can run on. When we activate the Amareya flame body, we're activating what are called the primal light fields as well. They're called the Kundare currents, the Kirishe currents, and the primal sound field currents beyond them are called the Kundare currents. So literally, this is the Kundalini is kindergarten. That's getting activated too, because you're activating not just this, but all of the frequencies above it. Now these are literally frequencies that will expand in your body. First they'll expand in your DNA template, the scalar wave program in your personal shield that controls how your DNA chemicals are going to manifest. Which means, as you begin to activate, you are going to begin to make first subtle changes in your DNA. There's some wild and wacky things that begin to happen sometimes with this. First, it's usually you think you're going through menopause, male or female. And you can be like 10 years old or you can be 100 and you're still going through it. Because there's heat flashes or cold flashes. And it's like, you don't need to run to your doctor for hormone therapy quite yet. First, find out you're working. See, everybody's activating DNA on the planet right now, but most people are activating it with the distortions, the Metatronic distortions in the templates. So they're getting all sorts of wacky symptoms. And the pharmaceutical companies are creating lovely alternatives so we can block the fact of those symptoms from our minds. There's a lot of misdiagnosis of things going on because doctors don't know about core templates or how they behave or DNA activations. Isn't that convenient? Our science has been guided here by guess who? So if we begin to realize when we do activations, we're activating Kundalini, which activates, actually we're activating DNA template, which activates Kundalini in the body. There's all sorts of neat things that happen. My skull cracked. I have a crack that runs literally down the front of my head. It looks like a vein from the side, but it isn't. It's actually a crack. There's sometimes bumps will form on the head, and a couple weeks later they'll go away. The head is stretching. Bones are doing things that doctors tell you they can't, that scientists tell you they can't. Sometimes your foot size will change. It might shrink and then grow again. All sorts of weird, wacky things. Your weight might go up and down and up and down. Sometimes there are certain DNA activations that are absolutely wonderful, and boy, am I due for one, where the frequencies that run are like the energy diet. Because literally, you'll find yourself in a week's time losing all this weight. And And if like you've been fighting with the opposite activations, they're actually making you put on weight, and you get the energy diet, like, oh yeah, you got to bottle that, I'd be rich, you know, that kind of thing. There's all sorts of changes. This is not fairy tale stuff. It's real.